Hello everyone, my name is Christian, and today I'm going to be talking about Sun Eater Book 1 by Christopher Ruocchio, and that is Empires of Silence. This is the sixth, I believe, Summer of Sci-Fi read that I'm doing, and this one was one that had a lot of expectations wrapped around it because the author is someone who is very active in the booktube community, and I love watching his interviews, and I knew his influences were Book the New Sun and Dune. And those are two of my favorite series that I've read, at least in sci-fi. And I was so excited to get into this book, but because of how much I love those books, I was like putting my expectations very low. But I realized that I was constantly comparing this book to those two series because I loved the first 100 pages of this book. I absolutely loved the rivalry between Hadrian and his family. I loved the dynamics between his father and Hadrian. But after the first 100 pages, we kind of go away from that. And we go into your classic gladiator type story. And I'll be honest, I do not care about gladiator stories. I think the movie Gladiator did it the best. And nothing comes close to that. Anytime I'm reading a book and there's a gladiator scene or there's an arena that the characters have to enroll in and fight for their freedom, like, I'm always very bored by that. I think it is far more interesting to not have gladiator stuff. It's just not for me. So that is something that factors heavily into my rating because as much as I love the first 100 pages and most of the last 100 pages, like, this book is almost 600 pages, and so there's about 200 out of 600 that I loved. At the most, maybe 150 pages. But 400 to 450 pages out of the book, I just did not care for at all. I thought it was an absolute slog. And it's only because of the gladiator stuff, because I just feel no stakes. I feel no tension anytime these things come up because I know the main character will survive and that he's going to lose a lot of comrades as he goes through the gladiator stuff. And it happens every time. Every single time this type of story happens, the same things happen. And so a lot of the stuff that happens in this book, I predicted, I could see coming a mile away, and I just really did not care about the story. Now, everything else with this book, the character work I thought was great. I really enjoyed the character of Hadrian. I don't think he's as interesting as Severian, though, because Severian, what makes him so interesting is the fact that he is such an unreliable narrator. And Hadrian is also a bit of an unreliable narrator. But Severian, the whole fun is picking apart, like, what's true. And sort of, like, what kind of Severian things are going on. Like, what is he embellishing and all this stuff. And in this book, I don't get any of that satisfaction with Hadrian. But I really enjoy Hadrian as a character anyways, because I think he is someone who has a very strong will, someone who has very strong motivations, and I just really loved kind of seeing him having to hide his royal sort of lineage because he is the son of the emperor, and I really enjoyed hearing everything about the Sealson. The sort of outer rim, like, deep space alien race that is sort of just knocking planets out, eating them, and, you know, taking humans and other species and turning them into slaves and all this stuff. Like, it's a really fascinating storyline. They really remind me of sort of like a One Piece type of villain group. Like, they definitely remind me of, like, the Celestial Dragons and, like, the World Government Organization. Like, but in a far more violent sort of way. Whereas, yeah, it's just, like, really interesting, sort of the parallels between the Sealson and the world government, and just seeing how much more violent they are compared to the world government, because there's just so much nasty stuff that the Sealson are doing throughout the solar system, and I really hope that we get some great exploration between the two cultures of humans and the Sealson meeting together, because we get a lot of that throughout this book, and it's sort of like the secret side quest that Hadrian is doing throughout the book is trying to meet a Sealson and kind of getting the truth about them, and because he's somewhat fluent in the language, because he's a language guy, and I love that too. I love that sort of character trait, and it makes for some really interesting scenes because a lot of people don't know what he's saying, and he's just able to understand 8 different languages, and it's amazing. I really enjoy those sections, but any fucking time that we were at the gladiator ring, I just did not care. And I did really enjoy this book. Outside of that, it was a very, very heavy slog for me because it was very repetitive at times. I feel like Christopher Ruocchio, I think I've seen an interview of too, he was writing this in college. So I think he, for a first book, I don't know if it was the first book he wrote, but the first book that I'm reading by him, the earliest one that I know that he wrote, this is pretty damn fantastic, what he did with this. I just think it gets a little too repetitive. And there were times where I felt like at its worst, this book felt like I was reading Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, because I generally liked Rhythm of War when it first came out. And on reread, I think it was pretty good. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, I think. And this book, I'm also giving a 6 out of 10 for it, because I just really felt like he needs to trust the reader a little more. He's over-explaining a lot of things, kind of re-explaining stuff to reminding the reader. And I really felt like I was, when I was reading it, I would think to myself, I get it. I get what you're trying to say. I see what's going on. And I would start skimming the chapter by that point, because I sort of got the gist. And I would try so hard to get as much information as I could. But I just couldn't I just could not maintain my interest through most of this book. And I'm not going to say that I give up on the series, because I do have the next 2 books in my TBR shelf. But there were times where I wanted to DNF this book, but because of how passionate the fans are of the series, I want to give it more of a try than just book 1. So that's why I bought the first 3 books, because I was kind of this book has a reputation. I mean, a lot of people do not like book 1. A lot of people say it's very slow, and I agree with that. And I was sort of constantly, because I have read Dune and Book of the New Sun, Ruocchio's main inspirations for the series, that I was kind of okay, I get it. I get it. I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing. So for those who haven't read Dune or Book of the New Sun, I can totally see why this series is working so well for them. And I can't wait to go to the next book, because it won't be immediately. I'm not going to jump right into book 2. But I'm going to read some other sci-fi books, and I will get to this probably early August. So I'm really excited. As much as I did not like this book, the process of reading it, there was a lot of really cool ideas that the author really wrestled with, and a lot of great thematic work. And I really enjoyed just all of the different organizations and all that stuff. I just really wish that it wasn't so much gladiator stuff, because everything separate from the gladiator stuff I liked a lot. I just don't care for the whole fighting for your freedom type of thing. I love watching it in a movie. I don't want to read it, because it is such a slog for me. At least in a movie, the whole movie is just an hour and a half, on average. But when reading a book, this took me about a week and a half to finish. And I was reading every day. It was not a motivation thing. I was motivated to read it. Everyone loves this book. But there was just so many times where I would sit down, I would start falling asleep. I just did not care what's going on, and I'm just excited for the future because I've gotten the low point out of the way, is sort of my thought process, because so many people do love book 2, and from there, people say it just gets better and better. And I love series like that, because this is the lowest that we're at, so it can only get better, and there's no better way to read, in my opinion, when it comes to series, than it getting better. So I think that's all I have to talk about today with this book. Thank you all so much for watching this. Comment below what you think of this book. Give me some recommendations for other sci-fi series that you want me to read, or just standalone books, because I am doing my summer of sci-fi, so I really want to continue this and see what else is out there. So thank you all so much for watching again, and please have a great rest of the day.